In this episode, we sail from Guadeloupe to Montserrat to see the volcano and the abandoned city of Plymouth. As per what seems to be a tradition for us, the weather wasn't much like the forecast. Supposed to be sunny and good winds, and ended up being lots of wind and quite a few squalls. We managed to miss most of those, only got a little bit wet.
Just caught a big fish, but broke the hook, didn't eat it.
Yeah, it's actually not. Actually not on a hook. Not my knot. That sucks.
We look. Looks like we've got a little fish. He's fighting. Starting to be able to see the top of the volcano. You can see the amazing lava flow all down this side of the mountain. The other side of the island is an exclusion zone. It looks like a town over there. It's the only sign of civilization we've seen on this side of the island. Pinnacle Rock on the left and the north part of Montserrat. And this part of the island is called Elm's Gate.
We came around the corner in the little bay and anchored in early afternoon in time to go to customs immigration and get checked in. There are a couple of restaurants and bars. They've tried to develop the waterfront into a nice touristy area. And this is where passengers from cruise ships and yachts land, and at least they have a little bit of eating establishments and places to go, a couple shops. The turtles have a limited amount of room to bury their eggs on this island, so there's a very active turtle education program in place. Next afternoon, we met our guide, Joe Phillips, and he took us up to the Montserrat Volcano Observatory, which is a pretty cool place and very educational, and they're still up there observing the volcano because it's still very much active. Joe led us into a movie theater where we watched a very educational film about the volcano and all the various eruptions and the damage and the people who lost their lives. The volcano started erupting around 1996, had one major eruption in 97, and was still having eruptions up through 2010. Had pyroclastic flows, some minor lava flows, a lot of ash, and a lot of flooding from the volcanoes. The residents were asked to leave for a weekend, and many of them didn't come back for 24 years, and the houses were left abandoned to this day and covered with mud and pyroclastic flow. And it's now in what they call a quiet phase. Scientists fly up to the volcano and inspect all around it and the surrounding areas, looking for any new developments during the quiet phase. They're also taking measurements and checking their instruments to look for any new activity. After clearing the road, it exposed the numerous layers of mud flows that occurred during the volcano eruptions. You can see what is a telephone pole at the end, which has been submerged mostly. This house was hit by mud flows, and the ones on either side of it were wiped out completely during the eruptions. Joe, our guide, had lived in the island his whole life, and he'd been taking photographs from his youth, and he had many before and after photos to show us of how the volcano affected the community and how the terrain was changed by all the lava and mud flows. There are literally hundreds of abandoned houses here. Some were never touched at all, but nature has taken them over because they were in the exclusion zone and the people weren't allowed to return for many years. One slight side benefit from the volcanic activity is they ended up with millions and millions of cubic yards of very clean, washed sand and gravel, which is now being mined and processed and is apparently shipped all over the world. So some benefit that came from the volcano after all.
Permit now.
Yeah, no, I give him this. I'll take the paper.
Afternoon. Afternoon.
You're talking. Who are talking? Go back over here. Go back over here.
Yeah.
Okay, observatory. We're just entering the Plymouth area at the Richmond Hill Gate. 3 aboard.
Okay, copy 3 souls into wind zone V, Plymouth, very well.
Avalon likewise.
We spotted this abandoned house up a driveway and decided to explore a little deeper and get a closer look at it. This was probably just affected by ash and not by pyroclastic flow or flooding. It's on the outskirts of Plymouth, so simply abandoned at the end of the day. Here we are, starting to enter the buried city. And here you can only sometimes see rooftops of 5-story buildings where just the single story is showing above ground. Parts of a church spire, etc.
You can see where the pyroclastic lava flow surged down towards the town. The area of Plymouth town was mostly affected by the ash that fell. This hot ash created more land, and where we are now standing was before the eruption in the sea.
This is a shot of Plymouth some years before the eruption. This is the same view taken with our drone, you can see the tops of a few commercial office buildings, but everything else is gone. Here we have a section largely unscathed but abandoned, and nobody ever returned because of the dangers of living near the volcano. North of the volcano has many abandoned buildings as well. Here we see only the top floors of some 3- and 4-story office buildings in the downtown district of Plymouth. Here we are driving to the port on this new land, and I'll show you some bollards that are hidden in the bushes from the original docks.
You can still see smoke coming from the volcano. And from where we are standing now, you can smell the sulphur.
These were commercial office buildings in the downtown area of Plymouth. As you can see, only the top floor remains. The rest of it is buried underground. Luckily, only 19 people died in this volcanic eruptions over the years, and life loss was minimized, but obviously real estate loss was unbelievable.
This was a hotel, completely buried. And there was a supermarket behind it. Here. And hotel buildings. And just all covered in ash.
After leaving downtown Plymouth, we decided to check out some abandoned condos and a new beach from the volcanic eruption that was outside of the exclusion zone. Well, they were told they were leaving for one weekend, and it was 20 some odd years before some people were allowed back in their homes. It's obvious that folks came and got most of their belongings over the years, but you can still see the signs of people just walking out on a property. There are pots and pans, and there are books sitting on the table, and just a general sense of abandonment. I believe there were 8 of these 3-story condos. You can barely see the roofs of a couple others there. And you can see how far Mother Nature has taken over this property. We're on the top floor, and you can barely see the bottom floors. After visiting the condos, we decided to drive down to the new beach. And this is all beach, beautiful sand that came from the effects of the flooding in the volcano. It's all washed, and this is just like the sand that they're mining and using in construction and selling to other countries. This was the original beach restaurant shack at the edge of the water. So now we're driving on all new land that created from the massive flooding and flows out of the volcano.
Now we're at the beach, which was a new beach and wasn't here before the volcano erupted. It's like
Wow.
about a quarter of a mile further back. This is amazing. And there are lots of wild donkeys here. We can hear them. It's just houses everywhere in this, what is jungle now. But some people have been back and renovated their houses and are now living there.
As the last stop on our tour, Joe took us to yet another bit of new real estate where we would drive along an old dock and where people used to bring their boats up to, and now there's another half a mile of new land and a new beach, and the cove is no longer as good for anchoring in as it used to be.
In the sea, yeah, along the jetty where the jetty
We're not in the
was.
sea, we are on the jetty.
Yes.
We're not in the sea. So this square you see there,
Yeah.
let me show you what that square was. That's where you would come and
Yeah.
step. Now, see there's an incline here. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. But it has 5 fenders and
Yes.
bollards going across there that you can't see. I'll show you the bollards. That part of that is still buried. No, that whole place was all the way over here was buried. The guy cleared it off. But I'll show you the bollards in the bushes. The bollards in the bushes.
Bollards in the bushes. Oh yeah, yeah.
There's one there.
There's a bollard. That's what the jetty was.
There's
And
another one there. And there's one over here, but
So driving across the dock, all this land you see is new from the volcano. Even though the volcano is in a quiet phase right now, you can still see smoke coming out from crevices in the side of it. In this remarkable photo, you can see that there were so many eruptions that business as usual was being conducted in many parts of the island. Strangely enough, Plymouth is still the capital of Montserrat, even though it's abandoned. It may be the only uninhabited capital city in the world. There's a great national museum just up the road from the port. It has a lot of great before and after photos, lots of explanations about the volcano, the original occupants of the island known as the Amerindians. Columbus stopped by the island briefly, only to rename it and moved on. They had a famous cricket player by the name of Jim Allen, and he played for the West Indies team. There's also a famous recording studio in Montserrat before the volcano known as Air Studios. Many famous bands recorded here, including The Police. We had sailed up the east side of Montserrat when we arrived there, so we decided to sail down the west side and see Plymouth from the sea on the way out. During the night, the swell had picked up, and a brand new police dock and brand new police dinghy broke free from the concrete docks. They had to tow it to this mooring wall in the middle of the night with their big cutter. It was very entertaining to watch this action. The views of Plymouth from the boat were really stunning and gave you a good idea of the scope of the devastation and abandonment from the ocean. Winds were variable as we went down the west coast of Montserrat, but we were in for a big surprise when we came around the south end and headed north over to Antigua. As we headed around the south end of the island, things started to get a little spicier on the water. Little did we know what was in store for us as we came around the corner. Video footage always flattens the true state of the sea, so anything you see that looks a little terrifying was really terrifying, trust me. As we turned to the east, the wind was right on our nose, so we dropped the jib and motored around the corner. Winds picked up into the high 30s and started to get even higher. As per what has become our standard practice, we came around the corner and headed north with 2 reefs in both sails. It wasn't enough for 52 knots of wind, however.
In these extremely rough oceans, Chip decides to take our 360-degree camera to the front of the boat and take some footage. I was hysterically laughing as he got absolutely soaked. Unfortunately, so did the camera, so this is all that is left of the footage.
Please join us in the next episode as we sail to Antigua and explore that wonderful place.